All right, so I got presented with another really great question. So keep on sending out these questions and I'm going to try to answer as many of them as I can. So this question was actually by a young athlete who has some shoulder problems. And he's actually asking how he can strengthen his rotator cuff muscle. There's a little bit of a problem there. Your rotator cuff isn't just one muscle. Okay, it consists of 4 or more muscles depending on whose philosophy that you follow. But technically it consists of 4 main ones. It's got your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, your teres major and minor, as well as your subscapularis. Now what all these muscles do together is actually give the shoulder stability. So the second part of this whole question is, what is shoulder stability? Right, we're always talking about how your joints need stability in order to move properly and things like that. Now in terms of the shoulder problem here, when your rotator cuff is weak or when these particularly 4 muscles don't have a lot of strength in them, you can get a lot of separation in the shoulder joint itself. So your shoulder joint is unique. It's similar to your hip. It's called a ball and socket joint. So what that means is that you literally have a ball, which is at the head of your humerus here, and then your shoulder part here, this is a socket. So the ball literally goes in the socket and this rotates around. And that's how you're able to do a full rotation with your arm, and the same thing with your hip. So the question still remains, how do you strengthen these muscles and provide your shoulder with more stability so you don't get any dislocations or anything like that, no muscle tears, because you're going to put emphasis on the wrong guys. There's actually a 2-part answer to this question. One is, of course, shoulder exercises, a couple particular exercises that work those few muscles, which I'll show you a little later in the video. But the other thing is also making sure that your chest, and especially your pec tendons here, which run over top of the shoulder and they connect on your humeral groove, which sits underneath your bicep. Now when this particular region here, when your chest is really tight, all it wants to do is it constantly wants to pull your shoulders forward. So if you ever see people with rolled shoulders like this, more than likely those upper back muscles are not strong enough to actually hold them and pin them back. Alright, so I had to get a little creative with my camera shooting skills here. So the first exercise I wanted to show you for the rotator cuff is called an external rotation. So what you can see here is that I have a band that's just attached to the squat rack here. So there's some good tension on it. So all we're going to do is we're going to keep our elbow nice and tight to our side, and we're literally going to rotate out. So we're pulling the band out as far as that we can. And then again, remember guys, if you're feeling a lot of pain, 8, 9, 10 out of 10, you want to definitely stop or lower the resistance or reduce your range of motion. You should never really be feeling a lot of pain when you're doing any kind of therapeutical exercises. Okay, so you're just going to go through here through your full range of motion, and that's really going to start working all those little muscles in behind the shoulder. So all these little guys that we're talking about that give that shoulder stability, those are all located on the back side of your shoulder. Okay, the second exercise to give the shoulder stability, and especially that subscapularis that we were talking about earlier, we want to do a standing row, or you can do a seated row as well. But essentially you want the same thing. You want some good tension on the resistance band. If you're strong enough to do light weights, that's great as well, but some people won't be up to that point. So again, keeping our body nice and tall, and then we actually just want to pull back, keeping our arms nice and close to the body here, going that full range of motion. So remember, I'm letting my shoulders come forward and my arms extend, and then pulling all the way back. Now the key in pulling here, you want to make sure that your hands are coming past your back, your elbows are actually coming past your back. If you're just going a short range of motion, you're not actually getting to the point of making these little muscles contract. You're actually just using the bigger back muscles to pull it to that point. Okay, so we're going to use the squat rack to help us stretch out our pecs. So you can see that I'm standing parallel to the squat rack. I'm just standing next to it with my elbow and my wrist and hand placed against it. So standing nice and parallel to it, then we're going to open the body up and I'm going to put pressure down into my shoulder. Right? So you can see here that I'm now off angle and I'm putting a lot of pressure into my shoulder region here. You should feel the stretch high into the shoulder and coming across the bicep. If you feel a big stretch, if things are starting to get painful, it's a good indication that you're overly tight and you might need a little bit of help working that out. With a couple of those exercises in the pec stretch, it should definitely make a really big difference in your shoulder stability and strength. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let us know, and any other concerns or topics that you would want to hear some things about, give us a message or a call, and we'll be sure to make a video on that too.